Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Orthodox Banter with Bojan. I'm the Bojan in question and I hope to answer any questions that you might have on Eastern Orthodox theology or practice from my own knowledge and experience. And the topic of today's video is, can humans do good on their own? I apologize for my prolonged absence, but I was a bit sick. I had this persistent cough, and the bigger issue was that I had like zero energy to do anything. It was most probably COVID graciously granted to me by my friend Strahinja. Luckily, I recovered, so here I am. And I was more focusing on the main channel because I do think that channel is, my raison d'etre, my reason for being, essentially. However, I still like posting here. I just wanted to answer this question from a certain John. And his question is, can humans do good on their own? Human nature is fallen, but we are made in God's image. Animals can certainly be selfless, and they aren't made in God's image. I don't have a dilemma with thinking humans are helped by God in everything good they do. What brings me on the brink of depression is thinking all we do bad is our fault, and all good we do isn't from us at all. It feels very Calvinistic, as we have no choice. I struggle with low self-esteem, and it makes me feel like I can't do anything. I know that without God nothing is possible, but we already are made in the image of God and are helped by Him. There are so many things I want to answer here. Recently on Twitter, I posted that I have a feeling that a lot of us Christians, we have our differences, denominational differences in doctrine, but what I feel is the biggest gap between different groups is between the Calvinists and literally everybody else. Because very often I feel that whenever someone is trying to sort of emphasize this Calvinistic theology, you're faced with God, that I honestly feel isn't good at all, but is very capricious in choosing who He will save and who He won't save, and there's like zero agency on our part. So you might want to be saved, but you will be rejected because you're not one of the elect, and vice versa. You might be the worst person, alive, and if God deems you saved, well, you're saved. And I do believe that all of these are sort of teachings are twisting of God's truth, and there is truth in it, but not in the way it is presented. And what I like to emphasize and overemphasize on this channel, definitions are important. Whenever we discuss something, we need to define what we mean by certain terms. This is especially important when we discuss, for example, like humanism. It's also very important when we discuss things like feminism. I always like to define what I mean by the toll houses whenever I discuss them, and so on and so forth. Honestly, even I do not consider Mormons Christians, because they do believe in the existence of other gods. They might not believe in them. They might not worship them directly or pray to them, but they still do believe in the existence of other gods. And this God they think that aligns with our Christian God is so far removed from what us Christians believe in God, which is this incorporeal entity, and I'm not referring to incarnation of Christ here. Again, I do not consider them Christians, but even with them, still there's that cough. I still do believe that there is some tad more similarity than with this capricious sort of evil God of Calvinism. And if there might be people out there who will be like, no, that's not what Calvin taught and all, and this is great. I'm all for it if this is corruption of what he taught, Okay, that's one thing. The second thing here is what I was fascinated by in this message is that what John presented here, I thought, until this message, was the perfect antidote to pride. Well, anything good I did with and thanks to God. Anything bad I did was due to myself. And I was like, man, this is like the perfect antidote to sin, because if I ever did anything good, it's not from me, so I can't, boast and be prideful. And all the bad is clearly from me. However, as we all know, sin tends to be the excess on both sides of a certain virtue. And here we can see how, for example, this stance, which again I personally believe to be perfect antidote to pride, can actually push someone to despair. I myself do not, suffer from this at all. I found great help and comfort in this. However, again, with somebody who has self-esteem issues, this can present a whole different can of worms. So we'll try to address that. Can humans do good on their own? This is both yes and a no question. Yes, they can opt to do it, but the issue is all good ultimately comes from God. And I think you should find great comfort in it, because if there was some good that came exclusively from us, we would be the source of that goodness. That is, we would be small g gods, and that is not a good thing, because then we would to receive what is due to gods, which is worship, which again would lead to this horrible spiral of ruin. And it does lead some humans, in their desire to be worshipped. I do believe that this was one of the major issues why the Lord sunk the entire earth during the flood. But we can opt on it, even if we do not, openly and willingly acknowledge that it's God helping us, from behind the scenes. And there are so many cases of this, because one only needs to go to a non-Christian society, and there are people who do good there. There are good people there. There are people who are completely altruistic and so on. And that is a manifestation of God's image in them, and also God directly helping them. Now, the issue I see here is that you believe that essentially humans are so completely rotten that they might not as well be able to, opt for God. And honestly, I do believe that if we were so horribly, depraved, I don't think that Christ would have come to save us, honestly, because why would he? He could have simply sank us all over again, and he does believe that we are worth saving. He does believe that, and that is the big issue I have with people who claim that, if you don't baptize your baby won't be saved, or even cannot be saved. Because when I hear things like that, I'm like, well, why did Christ come at all then? If he can't save a single baby, then what's the point of saving anybody at all? It simply blows my mind. I want to read you a passage from Proverbs. So this is Proverbs chapter 8, verses 22 to 31st. Ultimately, only the final verse is of note here, but when I was looking up this verse, I found the preceding verses to be so powerful that I wanted to read the whole thing, because I think it builds up nicely to where I want this to go. And by the way, this talks about the wisdom of God, who we believe is ultimately the Son who came into our world to shatter the works of the devil and to save us. So here's how it goes. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I have been established from everlasting, from the beginning, before there was ever an earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills I was brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth or the fields or the primal dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters would not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him as a master craftsman. And I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and my delight was with the sons of man. I believe that a lot of our problems when it comes to religion is the overemphasis of some, verses of the revelation God gave us. And we tend to be so lost in how bad we are, how depraved we are. And these verses do have their place because, again, we suffer from pride so much. However, here is what the Lord says, what the wisdom of God, the Son, Jesus Christ says, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and my delight was with the sons of man. This is such a beautiful verse. It shows us what God thinks of us. Yes, we have that, for God so loved the world, but it sort of sounds like, the mess of it, and I do believe that verse is of help, but this is like specifically about the very us. And my delight was with the sons of man. You wonder whether humans can do good on their own. I think it is one of those, angels at the tip of a needle questions. Does it really matter? Because at the very least, you can opt for God, and that is good enough. The Orthodox have this teaching of synergy. Yes, the Lord does all the good, but ultimately we have to say yes to God. Even the beginning of our salvation came with a simple yes by the Most Holy Theotokos, when she said, be it unto me according to thy word, when Archangel Gabriel came to her. Yesterday we celebrated no, actually it was 2 days ago, we celebrated here in Serbia the Feast of the Annunciation. It is celebrated according to the old calendar here, so it was April 7th. It is one of my favorite feast days of the year, possibly even the most favorite ones, because the Lord became flesh at her simple yes. It simply blows my mind away. And again, she had to agree to it. There are these, for the lack of a better word, crappy atheist memes where it is sort of implied that the Lord raped her or something. No, she agreed to it. She had the option. She said yes. And she had to say yes to it because, unlike other, barren couples who conceived, she conceived by the Holy Spirit. It wasn't a natural conception as it was in the case of Abraham and Sarah, Zacharias and Elizabeth. She had to say yes to this, specifically to God, and she did. All you basically need to do is to say yes. And I suggest you learn some verses and keep saying to them until you go blue. There is this short video on my channel called Dealing with Low Self-Esteem. It's on Bible Illustrated channel. I will simply tell you what it's about, in the case you can find it. Essentially, my spiritual father, Father Dimitri Cosby, of very blessed memory, because I also suffer from self-esteem issues and spiritual self-esteem issues, he told me to say the verse from Galatians. I closed the laptop, I can't stand the glare. But it is essentially, I live no longer I, but Christ who lives in me, and what I live by the love of the Son of God, who loved me and died for me. You can find similar verses that can help you. Read the book of the prophet Jonah. that God was willing to send a prophet to this nation who I don't think they were even Jews, honestly. I'm not really certain. I don't think they were Jews. But the Lord was willing to spare them, and not only them, but the animals as well. You know, it's a hilarious book. When you think, the more you think about it, the funnier it gets. But the Lord does love us, and whenever He's like strict, whenever He's stern in things He says to us, it's ever for two reasons: to cure us of pride, or to eliminate some far more atrocious sin from spreading. And you can use this key for whatever in the scriptures. That's why He, blessed to oblivion Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why He orders the genocides that happen in the Old Testament, all for the purposes of far worse evil not to be spread. That's why He essentially orders Abraham to offer up Isaac as a sacrifice in order to prevent future human sacrifices. Because, let us be honest, it is the natural end to the sacrificial model. Because what greater offering can one bring to the altar but one's own children? And the Lord is like, no, please don't. So yeah, there's that. Learn some verses. Of course, you need to discuss this with your spiritual father, with your priest. Whatever he says trumps whatever I have said, if there's a overlap. So there's that. I hope I helped you. These are things that helped me. While I do struggle with self-esteem, these are different kind of beasts than what I've discussed here. But I think I'm doing, again, thanks to the grace of God, relatively better. I want to say something. This will sound prideful, but I have to say it. I've practically nailed this Lent. The fasting is doing well. The prayer life has been doing well. I've been attending majority of services. The sole reason I'm telling you this is because I was a complete and utter crap at fasting before it. I won't go into details. And the sole reason I'm sharing the details of this Lent I've been nailing is precisely because the Lord was doing all the work. For some reason or another, He has given me the grace to persevere. On my own, I would not have succeeded. And I find it a great help because I need Him. You're wondering a lot if humans can do good on their own. Yeah, we can opt for it, as I said before. But in general, we are so weak, and we are sort of so accustomed to this ordinary everyday the Lord is giving us, that we're like, yeah, we can, maybe we can do some things. No, we can only opt for it. But find great comfort in it. Try to find great comfort in it. I'm repeating myself, so I hope to see you guys in one of the next videos. Bye.